Okay, so 12 hours to go until the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, the IMSA race. Let's preview it. 61 car field. That is a ridiculously sized field. That's a lot of cars. That's going to be a very busy pit lane, and that's going to be a lot of busy traffic for the leading, GTPs and LMP2 cars to battle through when they're trying to, lap the GT classes. Um, that is a big field. I'm looking forward to see how Lamborghini do because they weren't at the in the GTP class last year with the SC63 that debuted at Sebring. And as the season went on, they became more competitive. I think they've spent the off season really developing the car. I'm loving the new livery. The Italian flag livery is stunning, and I think it's the most beautiful of the GTP cars. Personally, I am a Lamborghini fan, a little bit of bias, so I'm looking forward to see how they debut with their GTP at Daytona. They've made a few little upgrades from the Sebring car onwards, so they have upgraded it. They had some issues with some of the components at Sebring, which is the 12-hour race, which comes a little bit later in the season. That did impact them for overall pace and downforce setup. But Daytona's different. You've got the high banking, and so they've had a full now season of development plus an off season to develop the car since October. And I'm liking that livery. I'm also liking just the whole GTP class in general. Now, the Porsches I think may struggle with the cooler temperatures. In the GTP class, they do tend to struggle for grip when the temperature is either too high or too low. I think it'll be interesting to see tyre management and double stinting of tyres. Last year, I think BMW had some issues with reliability, as did the Acuras as well, with some engine management issues and overheating. This year it's a lot cooler, so the temperature's been cooler with no tyre warmers could affect grip and lap times. While I think overall lap times we may see lap records broken, to get the tyres up to temperature because it is cooler and because there is rain around could be very, very interesting. I am expecting a lot of yellow flag periods because the GT classes, that's the sports cars at the back, the GT Pros and the GT Pro-Ams, there's a lot more of them. Traffic is going to be traffic management, and when you're overtaking slower traffic, is going to be really interesting, especially in the infield section. The high banking, the GTP class and the LMP2s going to take the low side of a high side and just blitz past them, preferably on the outside. The infield, like the International and the Western Horseshoe, for example, and that infield section, because the GTPs are so much heavier than the old DPIs, it's going to be interesting how they actually overtake the GT cars, because the GT cars have full ABS, the LMP2s and the GTPs don't, but the LMP2s seem to have higher apex speed than the GTPs. The GTPs are very lumbering in the apexes. However, the infield section at Daytona, unlike the Charlotte Roval, for example, or Indy, is a little bit more flowing and with slightly higher speed corners, where the apex is on some of the tighter corners is a bit of a faster speed, so we may see some more overtaking in the infield section, but traffic management is going to be chaotic. I do think the weather's going to have an impact. There is a chance of rain, and it is cooler, and with those cooler temperatures without tyre warmers, which is one of the things I don't like about IMSA. It's one of the few regulations I don't like about IMSA is the lack of tyre warmers. We've seen in night sessions at Petit Le Mans, Sebring and Daytona in the past, without those tyre warmers, all the cars do struggle to get up to tyre temperature, and we've seen the Acuras and the Porsches, for example, when the temperature either is too high or too low, they can struggle to switch those tyres on, which affects grip and handling. So we could see some of the big runners actually struggle if starting temperatures are low and if it gets really cold overnight. We could see that. If it rains, that throws another whole different ball game out there. Although it has rained since we've had the Raw and the practice sessions, there has been damp conditions, so the teams will have some setup knowledge. They will also have some setup knowledge from Indy, where it did absolutely hammer down, and Watkins, I think is it right? Watkins Glen as well. There was rain there, so the teams will have some setup knowledge of working with the wet weather and cooler temperatures. Petit Le Mans is also later in the year. The temperature does drop in the evening, as it does at Sebring as well. So it will be interesting to see if the weather does impact, if there is heavy rain, how that impacts performance, overall lap speeds. Also, I'm expecting a high attrition rate because of the cooler temperatures and the changeable conditions. I'm expecting a very high attrition rate this year, higher than I would normally expect because of the size of the field, 61 cars. I am expecting a slightly higher attrition rate than in previous editions under the IMSA banner. I mean, the Daytona has been going for 60 odd years, but I am expecting a reasonably high attrition rate. There are some teams who've got new cars, so I'm also expecting some technical problems with some of the teams who've got new machinery. We saw it last year with the AWA team with their Corvettes; they just flat out struggled, and we also saw it with the factory Corvette team in the higher GT class. They had problems as well. We've seen it in GTP, we've seen it in LMP2 and LMP3 when LMP3 was part of the 24 hour. So we have seen issues with teams having a new car, having some teething issues. We've seen it with Porsche, we've seen it with BMW, we've seen it with Acura. I think we've even seen it with Cadillac. Lamborghini had some issues later on when they joined last season. So it's going to be interesting to see how many of the GTP class and the GT classes have issues. The LMP2s I think are pretty standard now. That chassis style, the Orica chassis, but all the chassis that you could have the option of, and the Gibson engine and the setup, the LMP2 class is pretty much at top end. All they've got to do is turn the wick up and you have a full fat LMP2 will be faster than the GTPs. Can't have that. But the LMP2 I think will be the class that has the least technical issues and mechanical issues, at least off the bat. However, again, some teams have stepped up to LMP2, and so therefore again, new machinery or new crew members, new drivers, there could be some technical issues there, but overall I'm looking forward to it. There will be a post-race review, and of course we've got 4 classes racing in multi-class racing, although the GT classes are just split into Pro and Pro-Am, so they all use the same machinery. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to see how the BMWs and the GT class do, the Porsches do, the Lamborghinis. The Ferraris look tasty. I'm not going to lie, the Ferraris look tasty. They've got a great history at Daytona in all forms of racing. In the LMP2s, it's just down to how well the bronze drivers or the silver drivers do in their stints, and how just surviving. You've got to get to the darkness. The darkness is where a lot of fun happens. And the GTP classes, it's all about cycling the drivers, double stinting the tyres. I do think tyre management is going to be key as well, but with the cooler temperatures that might reduce tyre wear a little bit. It might increase it. If the cars are sliding around and not getting that grip, it could be very, very difficult to double stint tyres when you have to, because you have a limited allocation. Again, I understand the cost saving measure behind that, but at the same time, without tyre warmers, I am concerned we are going to have a lot of yellow flag periods, and we could see some contact and cars spinning off, hitting barriers and tyre walls, and getting stuck on potentially wet grass on the infield because of the amount of rain Florida has had. So there we go. There's a little preview of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. I'm really looking forward to it. My pre-race prep is I'm going to basically sleep most of the day. I've got 12 hours till start, so I'm probably going to have sleep, good 6-7 hours sleep, and then I'm going to watch the whole race. And I'm going to have my breakfast / lunch at the same time, and I'm probably going to have a good 6 to 8 hours sleep, or several naps beforehand. Eat at about 4 hours into the race potentially. I've got a lot of fluids, so I've prepped on my Lucozade. I have got enough Lucozade, I think, to run an army on, and I've got enough nicotine and roll-up cigarettes, I think, to go for regular cigarette breaks when there's yellow flag periods and just go outside. So I've got my nicotine and my energy drinks, and I'm just looking forward to the next 24 hours. But from me for now, thank you very much for watching. This time in 12 hours, as I'm recording, the race would have literally just had the green flag, and I'm looking forward to it. I've waited 12 months for this, and my favourite GTP car is finally making its debut at Daytona. So looking forward to see how the Lamborghini squad do. I'm really enjoying what they've done with that livery and the development of the car. It looks nice. It was not the best last year, first season. Now they've had a full season apart from Daytona to develop and upgrade. I'm looking forward to see how they do, because they nearly did it at Indianapolis in the rain, Nearly got a historic first win for that car. Again, on a super speedway with an infield section. So they can also use a lot of data they got from Indy, especially in changeable conditions, to set this car up. And if that car goes, and it did put in some fast qualifying laps, although it was further down the GTB grid, it did at one point set the fastest lap in qualifying on its first or second flying lap. There is pace in that car. There's pace in all the GTBs. I think the Porsches, because they've got 3 teams with 4 cars and more technical data, and therefore Penske's put a lot of money into that. I think when they finally get their tyres turned on, going to be dangerous. Don't count out the BMWs just to find a way to survive. The Acuras and the Cadillacs, they're the more established manufacturers in the top class with the old DPI programs as well. So there's a lot of transfer of parts, skills, and experience. Expect them to make the early running, in my opinion. I would expect the Cadillacs and Acuras to make the early running. But then again, reliability we've seen with both of them in the past, in the longer endurance races, has let them down at various points. Be it headlights not working, and if the headlights go in the dark, that's a black flag, that's a fix. Engine problems, overheating, suspension issues. BMW, or BMW, if we want to be German, have also had a few technical issues at Daytona. And the Porsches, I think it's more the grip and turning the tyres on, although they've had some bad luck with accidents at Daytona. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below. I really look forward to this race. I will be doing a post-race review, and I will probably be exceptionally exhausted, and I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes in that review, but my god, I'll be zombified, but I would have enjoyed it. But anyway, for me, for now, thank you very much for watching, and we'll get back into our NRL season previews going forward for the rest of the morning before I decide to take my pre-race nap. And for me for now, it's goodbye. Thank you for your support, really appreciate it. And also remember, if you do like what you see, there's the subscribe button, and there's also the membership button as well. Any support is gratefully received. But for me for now, it is goodbye.